Today, we're gonna check out some WQHD Ultrawide gameplay on the RTX 3080 in immersive 21:9 widescreen. Oh yeah. Hello, hi there, I'm TechDweeb, welcome. Thank you for clicking on the video today. You guys know that I waste my money on lots of things. Well, it's not my money, technically. It's my mom's money that she earned from a life of hard work and sacrifice for me to waste on expensive GPUs. But I make up for it because I save so much money. For instance, I don't buy fancy new clothes or luxuries like soap or deodorant, and I save money on food because half the time I don't eat, and the other half the time I'm content eating just like a loaf of bread with peanut butter, like a poor college student. Not that I'm bashing college students, far from it. Bread with peanut butter is freaking amazing. Those guys eat like kings. Kings, I tell you. Anyways, this is my main PC setup, my personal setup. This is my monitor. It's an MSI something, I don't know. It's 34 inches, WQHD 3440 by 1440 resolution with a 100 Hz refresh rate. WQHD is my favorite resolution to game on. It's the sweet spot for getting great performance from higher-end GPUs without having to make too many sacrifices. And I just love this ultra-wide ratio. It provides a wider field of view, allowing you to see more of the game world. It fills your vision so nicely, and it's just immersive. It's like you're in the game, except you're not, because you're still sitting in your mom's basement surrounded by empty root beer cans with a cat who only pretends to love you but is really just biding her time until that blissful morning that you don't wake up and she can eat your face. And now, since it's modern times, basically every game supports this aspect ratio and can take advantage of the extra screen real estate. And this is my GPU. It's an RTX 3080. It has 10 gigabytes of GDDR6X memory and 8,704 CUDA cores. And for those of you who don't know what GDDR6X memory and CUDA cores are, well, neither do I. I don't think anyone does, to be honest. This has been my GPU for over a year now, and it's brought me lots of great gaming memories. WQHD is a pretty demanding resolution. Yeah, I had a 3070 before I had this thing, and it definitely struggled at this resolution. The 3080 does too, sometimes, but it can usually handle most games at nearly maxed out settings, with some caveats that we'll talk about in a bit. So, WQHD gaming on an RTX 3080. Is it strong enough to push 100 Hz in every game? Can we max out those settings? Can we enable ray tracing and get a playable FPS? Does rootbeer give you superpowers? Well, let's find out, shall we? No, it doesn't. All of the games today are running on this. This is my PC with a Ryzen 7 5800X, 48 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM clocked at 3600 MHz, a PCIe Gen 4 NVMe SSD, and this is the MSI Ventus 10 gigabyte version of the RTX 3080. Starting off, as always, with Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I'm running at WQHD native resolution, maxed out ultra settings with ultra ray tracing enabled, and I got an average of 64 FPS. Now, normally I get a higher FPS because I make use of DLSS, but for some reason lately that option has been grayed out for me in this game. It won't let me enable it. I usually try to get closer to my 100 Hz refresh rate of my monitor. Although, as you'll see, that rarely happens if we max out the settings, even on an RTX 3080. Obviously, ray tracing is super demanding. I'd get better FPS if I disabled that, which I would probably do here if I wasn't doing a benchmark test, because in this game, the RTX implementation isn't amazing. It barely looks any different, and we take a huge performance hit. I made a video about this topic. I'll link to that in the description below if you'd like to know more about what I think about RTX. Honestly though, even with everything maxed out, and even though it's not 100 Hz, this is a glorious gaming experience in ultra-wide on this big monitor. It's one of my favorite games. It's amazing looking all the time, but playing it here at WQHD with maxed out ultra graphics settings is freaking luxurious. Next up, we have The Witcher 3 with the next gen patch update, the next gen Witcher 3. which is really just current gen if we're being honest. I'm getting an average of 84 FPS, running at WQHD, making use of quality DLSS, maxed out ultra settings, but with ray tracing disabled. I was getting less than 50 FPS with ray tracing enabled, even at the lowest ray tracing settings. So I just don't bother with ray tracing in this game, even though this is one game where the ray tracing effects make a pretty noticeable difference, and I really would like to play with those enabled because I love this game and I think it's beautiful, and I wish that I could get it looking as good as it can. I mean, the game still looks amazing. It's not like you're getting a super subpar experience without ray tracing. It's more just a matter of stubbornness for me. I hate that I can't have the full experience at an enjoyable FPS, but that's a me problem though. The 3080 does great here as long as you leave that ray tracing disabled. Red Dead Redemption 2, ladies and gentlemen. Another beautiful game. Well, all the games I'm going to be testing today are beautiful, actually. Except CSGO. I tossed that one in for shizzles and gizzles, but the rest are all the most graphically intense and beautiful games that I have. This one might be the most beautiful of them all, actually. When I first fired this up on my 3080 on this 34-inch WQHD monitor, oh man, just look at this game. You know, I have an affinity for the outdoors, for natural, rural environments, but also for like Wild West stuff. I love losing myself in the immersion of this game. And when you can all but max out the graphics, it really takes it to the next level. Oh, we're running at WQHD resolution with quality DLSS. Nearly maxed out quality slider. It's like 1 or 2 pips from the max. And I got an average of 84 FPS. Next up, we have Cyberpunk 2077. For this one, I wanted to show you the limitations of this setup. Cyberpunk is just so demanding, especially with ray tracing. I didn't know how it would fare. Before I got a 3080, I wondered if it would be able to handle Cyberpunk. This game is like the ultimate RTX benchmark. So how does it do? I'm running at WQHD with quality DLSS, everything maxed out with ultra ray tracing, and I got 37 FPS on average. And it wasn't even a smooth experience. Look at that frame time graph. 18 FPS, 1% lows. This game looks great, and it runs pretty good when you don't bother with ray tracing, but I was honestly disappointed that I couldn't enjoy a true RTX experience here in Cyberpunk, even on a 3080. And now it's time for some Doom Eternal. This one is really freaking sweet. You know, I love the original Doom. I prefer it actually as a game, but Doom Eternal is so amazing looking and enjoyable on an ultra-wide display that I just had to include it. I'm running at WQHD, quality DLSS, maxed out Ultra Nightmare settings with ray tracing enabled, and I got 157 FPS on average. Heck, my 1% lows were even above my FPS limit. 110 FPS 1% lows. This game is so buttery smooth with these settings on the 3080, and it looks freaking amazing. You know, this puts Cyberpunk to shame, if I'm being honest. His Cyberpunk looks good, but this looks good too. They both look about as good at what they do, and we're using ray tracing here, and we still got this crazy high FPS. The original Doom was a very highly optimized engine as well. You know, it ran great and looked great, even on low hardware, so it's not surprising that Doom Eternal can pull off some impressive FPSs. I just wasn't expecting to be impressed to this degree. Freaking fantastic, man. Okay, let's switch gears and do some CSGO. We did push it. I was running at WQHD, lowest possible settings, and I got 317 FPS on average. I was actually expecting this to be higher, to be honest. Yeah, neither the CPU or the GPU was maxed out, so I'm not sure why I wasn't getting more FPS than this. I mean, 300-ish FPS is a lot of FPS, but this is a 5800X and a 3080. You know, I feel like theoretically we should be at like 500 plus FPS or something. I don't know. Maybe one of you watching this video has some insight for me. What's holding me back here? Moving along, let's check out some God of War. This is running at WQHD with quality DLSS and every single graphical setting maxed out. The game looks beautiful, but it's also playing beautifully. We got 108 FPS on average. I probably could have turned off DLSS and got like in the high 80s, but I don't mind the DLSS implementation in this game. You know, some games get weird looking with the DLSS, but this isn't one of them. If anything, it looks better with the DLSS on for whatever reason. Also, having the FPS so high means that it's running at my monitor's native 100Hz frame rate most of the time. It just feels so smooth. You know, combine the performance with the ultra smooth animations and the great visuals and the great audio, and this one is just a feast for the senses.
Ready yourself.
Oh, here's a new one for me. This is Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection. I got this bundled with that Ryzen 5 4500 processor that I used in a budget build recently on the channel. It's a really great game. I've never played the Uncharted series because I'm not a PlayStation guy, but I love all the PlayStation ports that have come to PC. You know, Days Gone, Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, Spider-Man Remastered, Death Stranding, and now Uncharted. This one has a lot of what I like in games. Good story, beautiful visuals, climbing mechanics. I'm not very far in the game, just like a couple hours into the story, I think. I'm sure it'll open up a lot more because it feels pretty linear so far, but I'm really enjoying the story and the performance. You know, the game looks great and plays great. I'm running at WQHD with no upscaling, maxed out ultra graphics, and I got 91 FPS on average by the end of my 15-minute play session here.
You made it. What'd you find? Drake?
Place was picked clean. If there's a clue hidden up there somewhere, I couldn't find it.
And finally, we have Far Cry 6, WQHD, no upscaling, maxed out ultra settings, maxed out ray tracing. I got 83 FPS average. I'd probably opt to enable some sort of upscaling if I was going to play with maxed out settings, just to get that FPS closer to 100 FPS because this is a first-person shooter. And for those, I really prefer to get that FPS as high as possible. But man, look how freaking good this game looks. There's so much detail in the world, the landscape, the foliage, the lighting. This one is one of those games that just makes me feel so immersed when I'm playing on a big ultra-wide monitor. Not much happened in my short play session here. I couldn't find much action, but that's okay. I got an FPS average for you, and that's what counts. So, is an RTX 3080 enough to handle WQHD gaming at max settings and high refresh rates? Well, not really, to be honest. You know, quite a few of our games wouldn't run at 100 Hz. Some of them were much lower than that. Definitely not with ray tracing in most circumstances. We'd have to lower some settings to get those FPS numbers up. Now, I've made a few videos about how I think ultra settings are a waste and ray tracing is a waste, so I don't mind doing that when I play personally. But I want to set realistic expectations here with a 3080 and WQHD resolution. There are still sacrifices that need to be made, unfortunately. I have a nice 40 series upgrade for my gaming setup on the way, so this will probably be the last time I make a video with this 3080. I've been gaming on it for over a year now, and I wanted to show you how it works on my own personal gaming setup before I throw it in the garbage. It's a great GPU, with a few sacrifices. It does work great at WQHD resolution. Just don't expect to be able to max everything out or enable ray tracing at high refresh rates, because you'll you'll be disappointed if you do. Oh hey, you know what I learned? Over 95% of my subscribers are awesome, super cool people. Proven by science. So, you should probably subscribe, like all the other cool kids are doing. And cool people also like visiting my Discord server. It's true, so you should probably do that as well. You know, I wouldn't want you to feel left out after all. And it hasn't been confirmed by science, but a popular theory amongst academics is that really cool people also like clicking the thumbs up button if they like the video. So you should probably do that just to be on the safe side, at least until we get the data. Well, that's it for me. I'm TechDweeb. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.